Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm. We continue on our reduction of sensorality. It is a word that we've constructed that represents all sensation. Any filtration from a sentient being is represented by the word sensorality. And so we're continuing to work through our definition. So if you don't know who I am, again, I'm not going to do too much introduction, seeing as this is part like 184 or 3 or something, but you should have some agency and go look back if any of these things interest you. I'm not going to reintroduce a ton of topics, considering this is literally a new math subject. What you are watching is me proving the fundamental identities for dimensionless analysis. Dimensionless analysis completes dimensional analysis in its entirety. It's truly the only centralized math subject that could exist, is the consistency of language. We've already demonstrated that. We've proven in an axiom speciality. You've probably never heard that word, or you maybe have heard that word, but it's special with an ITY at the end. So this entire process has already been done. A lot of the engineering applications of this physics has been known and classified for decades. So luckily for me, the entire world has come together to destroy my life. So if you're the random YouTuber stumbling on this video, that's who I typically address in this. There's a lot going behind the scenes, and people have destroyed my life, truly. And so a pleasant reminder to all of the law enforcement and academics that are involved in this: a conscious, willful choice that results in the death of another is first-degree murder. And so it doesn't matter how many goofies sit in a room and say, oh no, it doesn't count, national security, earthlings, or whatever you guys say. Doesn't matter, you're committing the highest crime. So just politely reminding you of that. But to the average YouTuber, what I want you to do is, and to know, is that you can't watch a single physicist on YouTube or anywhere that isn't directly stealing from my work or benefiting from the theft of my work. And they can't even talk about anything else at this point. So I want you to, before you even watch this video, if you're intrigued at this at all, which is, again, the unification, so quote unquote, the theory of everything, this is it. But it's really just demonstrating language is consistent. Because language represents anything that's logical. And not logical. I don't know the correct negation for logic. But point being is there's currently a forum. One of the scientists that I've been in direct contact with almost a decade at this point is Sean Carroll. Well-known public figure, but they're hosting a forum at Johns Hopkins where he works. And so you get on YouTube, it pops up on my feed, and I click on it. And I forget the actual title of the video, but it's this chick, and she's talking about, a new paradigm for mathematical proofing. And then her opening slide is the sphere packing densities, which is, again, a proof is the sequence of logic in which you present ideas. That is the uniqueness, that is the novelty, that is the intellectual property that I have developed. And it's unique. There's only so many pieces of evidence, empirical evidence, that have been exposed to all of us to put together a mathematical proof. And when I say mathematics, I mean logic, anything that you can establish as true. So she opens up, she's got her blue hair, she's got her dyke haircut, and you might think I'm being rude, but I really want to emphasize, I don't even know her name, I think it was Emily something, but to that person, I don't give a shit about your worthless mathematics. I want to ask you on a personal level. I am sitting in my parents' basement. I've never been paid for fundamental proofings that truly change everything in mathematics and physics. Everything. And I've been paid nothing. I've never been acknowledged for my work. I've literally been scapegoated and thrown out of society. I've been the victim of so much crime. It's honestly indescribable. And so to that Emily person, I just want to ask you on a human level, forget all the mathematics. Who gives a shit? What I do, what you do, who cares? Did you achieve what you wanted in your life as a human being? Giving a lecture at Johns Hopkins, wow, with your butch haircut, because I'm sure with somebody with an outward appearance like that, you've never had anybody treat you less of a human being. And now you're at Johns Hopkins and you just slam the door shut for the next guy. So I simply just asked you, have you achieved what you wanted in this life as a human being? Fuck all this math and science stuff. I want that answer to me directly to my face. Because I want to know why everybody else out there in this world matters and I don't. But anyway, and to the average YouTuber watching, again, like I said, there's just directly verbatim stealing my shit. Because verbatim in this case doesn't mean word for word, it means logical step by logical step. And by logical exhaustion, there is no more steps to make. And so you guys are truly disgusting past what disgusting could be. And obviously you're not mathematicians, for holy fuck's sake. Your administrators are fraud, truly. That's not me being mad, that's a historical fact. You guys are committing fraud and you're administering it while collecting money. Fraud. And so then again, her next slide up is, a new way, paradigm for mathematical proofing. And then they're talking about defining things as coherent or incoherent. Do I need to pull up the lecture where it's titled coherence? Like all of these things are documented, formalized as much as that can be formalized. And so you're just directly stealing everything I've ever worked for. And again, when I have aging parents in their home and they've never understood what I've done. No understanding to anything of what I've actually accomplished. You guys are fucking disgusting. But with that being said, we will go on and move and do physics. Because again, in her slide, it says vibe proofing, right? The logical structure she's pulling on there is vibe check. And so we have all of these logical forms of it is what it is, and people are just making them more specific. But I've already done it in such a rigorous, prolific way that you can only recreate my mathematical developments. That's just an empirical fact. It's disgusting, man. One day my parents won't be here. One day I won't be here. It could be today, it could be in 10 years, it could be in 2 years, it could be whenever. And I will never have that satisfaction of every single person out there that has had a different academic track where their parents don't understand what they're doing, specifically in physics, mathematics, computer science. I'm that fucking person, and you've slammed that door shut for me. And so I sit in this anxiety of just fucking hell, man. With that being said, moving on to the mathematics. Because what better way to bury these fucking people with one, proving that they're violating the law, and then enforcing the law, and then two, erasing everything they've ever done in logic. And I'm talking every other fucking person that's walked on this planet. What is soaring? So last episode I cheated, and because a lot of times what you'll see is I pose questions, and then most of the time it's the exact verbiage or the two words that are the operative words of that sentence or of that logic. I'll put it on the screen, but sometimes it will just be almost completely different. It'll be maybe one word and then it'll be a different word that I don't even say. But what you're watching me do there is I'm deriving new theorems based off the theorems that I just said like 5 minutes ago when I was actually recording it. But I'm putting new theorems on the screen, which I didn't articulate clearly with letters. And so I'm iterating my own logic. And fundamentally what we're getting at is because we're deducing down sensorality. We've constructed this word and we're going to reduce it into two base words that are known. And it's going to solidify their relationship. But I cheated. I said soaring up there, and I said, soaring is limited. Sky's the limit. I actually had written S-O-R-I-N-G. But soaring in that case would be like if my muscles are sore, I'm soaring. I'm like getting, I don't know what logically that would be or physically that would be. But I cheated a little bit. So soaring, flying is what I meant. It's what I put on the screen. And then soaring, S-O-R-I-N-G, sensorality, soarings. Again, just another piece of logic I have not connected completely. Sensorality is sensoristicality. Again, we're just working through all of the forms of this word that could exist. Soaristic, artistic. Sensorality is artistic. My pool table is not going to go draw a picture. Sensorality is futuristicality. Futurist, tourist. Sensorality is sensoricality. What is oricality? Right? So now again, we've modified that base word with syllability, just letters and syllables. Orality, oricality, right? Oracle, O-R-I-C-A-L, produces oracle, O-R-A-C-L-E. An oracle is a sensei, right? We've had that word, another thing we have to connect, where you've heard that a lot, is someone's a sensei. What are they saying there? Senseis are sensorists. They're scientists. They're sentient. And so it's just a level of awareness. And scientist is a sensorist. I mean, that's where it's in the same word family as sensorality. And so that's what's going on there. But an oracle is a sensei. And so we've connected sensorality to a sensei. Sensorality ignores. Again, in plus gore equals ignore. And so I had a wonderfully intelligent comment on my thing yesterday, and it was some guy commenting. Again, I just post up my short, you can go watch it. I literally just say if plus normal equals informal, and in plus gore equals ignore. So he first of all, he comments like, if plus normal equals informal question mark, you're an idiot. It's clearly a negation prefix. It's almost like I've rigorously articulated what an amalgamated word is and what an integrated word is, which is off this iteration function, and this iteration is alternating. That's the part I can't really formalize exactly numerically what's happening. But clearly, but point is like, they just see a 30-second clip. You might be wondering why I care at all. Again, it's because I have nothing besides vitriol. People have no understanding that I have no sense of personal identity. I've been physically around people my whole life and they've never interacted with me on a personal level. Just the general ideas that I talk about because they're theorems and they're proofs and they don't realize that they lose me in that mix. I have never been me ever. Ever. Anywhere. Ever. But he just comments, it's like, if plus normal, it's clearly, or formal than it, or negated, but it isn't. And see, this is one of these examples where it's like the letter I and the letter F are the same letter, same sound, and they come from different words. And nobody else has the sensitivity enough demonstrably to be able to differentiate that. But because I can see why he says that, but it just isn't, right? Because again, formality is kind of integrated or iterated based off of normality. And so if plus normal is what gives you the informal. And again, I don't know how to formalize that. Ironically, it's the same word. But point being is that he doesn't even comment on the ignore one, right? How can you say in or ig is the negating prefix for nor, which isn't a word, at least not established one yet? Nor, norality, ignorality. Again, I would have to start doing all of the derivation to expand the word family. But point being is, it's just like, I have received nothing besides profound vitriol for simply stating something. Like, who gets mad at that? Who watches a video that says in plus gore is ignore and it's like, yep, I'm mad now? Because they're experiencing ontological shock. And as a judge and as a person who's, again, talking about law and how society is supposed to function, that behavior in its entire generality needs to be eradicated. It needs to be found, it needs to be eliminated. I'm not talking death, I'm talking change your shit fucking behavior. And then apply the law when they won't. I am profoundly more reasonable than everybody else. He's probably more mature than all of us. No, I am. But you guys just don't fucking ever change your behavior. I can only say words have meaning in so many different ways. And I'm demonstrating it at the most rigorous, logical way possible that wasn't even known. Nobody else has even remotely done anything close to anything fucking like this. Obviously, I mean, the logical structure is so far out of what is reachable by anybody else. Demonstrably, somebody's saying that. But anyway, and so it just leaves that comment, but I might go no comment. I don't care. It's like I can't respond. Disrespect does not bother me, but I can't say, congratulations, dumb fuck. Right? You don't go into your place where you work and just shit all over the floor and expect to have employment. You don't disrespect me, and not in a personal way, but you don't demonstrate that behavior and have a role in anything that requires maturity. You just don't. But point being is, I'm glad to see ontological shock still happening. And what type of person gets mad at that? It's beyond me. But it's not. I know what it is. It's just, change your behavior. There's no law enforcement. What is norality, right? Ignorality. Well, I guess we just got to that. But norality, normality. And so I'm literally like deriving off of this stuff, and it's like commenting on there, and it's like the next step. It's like I haven't gotten there yet. That's just so weird. It's like I'm actually doing all of this work. It's so easy for you to sit on the other side of this camera and be like, oh yeah, this dude's gonna casually upload fundamental logical derivation 24 hours a day for the past 10 years. You guys have probably gotten used to that. When has that happened ever before? Never. But Brad's the scapegoat. I get to take the blame and the brunt of abuse from literally the entirety of the species and of the planet, not just the human species. Fun fact. But why is the letter N used for negation, the sound N, right? So now we can make some sort of logical statement, because I can tell that you guys can feel that we're like behind words. Like we have logically, again, language is already consistent, but we've broken it down enough where we're like behind the logic represented by the actual letters, which is pretty cool. But why is the sound N used for negation? And clearly it is for negation, but like why N, right? Niet, no. No. I mean, it's like, why the sound N? There's got to be some sort of physical reason. It's not resonant, it's incoherent, it's an adverse frequency, I don't know. But again, there's so much more logical analysis we can now provide. Sensorality is perspective, right? And then we can see, again, sensorality contains this definition of speciality, because we're expanding known ontology. And so we have to incorporate all of speciality, which is an entire proof at this level that you have never seen before, average YouTuber. But perspective, we can clearly see, is that S-P-E-C-T. R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Don't you know you're based on speciality? Ha, look at me. Kill myself. But sensorality is perspective. Greed, agreed. This is another dichotomistic pair. I mean, that's correct. I agree with you. You're right. We use that naturally. What is agreement? Agreed? Agreed, right? There's a negation prefix, agreed. Why is agreement based on greed? But what is the relationship of agreement, correctness? And now here's an interesting one, because in this logical context, it will produce the word righteousness, right? What is the relationship of agreement, correctness, and righteousness? Right? People say you're right or wrong all the time without moral or emotional connotation, but righteous is a word that you can't really remove greatness, righteousness. And righteous meaning you're objectively morally correct. Is kind of what that word means. But just what's the relationship and when do we use these? Again, pointing out other logical differentiations, just establishing these differences. Glorality is greedy, right? Glory is proportional to greed. I want to be the best remembered person ever. I want the glory and honor. It's like, calm down, Johnny. Greed is excessive. Sensorality is soraticality. Ratical, radical. Again, now how does that T go to the D? Because remember, all of this is one way. Like this entire derivation, these are all words that are available to anybody else, but the analysis, and once we have exhausted all of the logic, there is nothing else that exists to analyze. But ratical, radical. Speciality is radical. Sensorality is stability. Stability, futility. Speciality is futile. Stability is dynamic. Sensorality is dynamicality. Sorality is namicality. Dynamic, but now the dy is clearly again like a prefix now. And so namicality. Again, just a general form of name. Sorality, names. A name is a title. Title, tittle, right? When you put a dot on the, don't forget to dot your I's. Well, that's a tittle. There's a word for that. But it's all title, again, name, label, title. It's just like category, group, set. Title, clearly based on it. So we're going to go with that one. But sensorality, titles. Titality, censors. If I say, hey, Johnny, is all the people named Karen going to think I'm talking to them? No. Right? You censor your name. That's what I said there logically. Sensorality is decisionality. Censors decide. To make a conscious choice, that's a censor with an S. When your washing machine says censor with an S, that is wrong. When you say I have a constitutional right and spell it R-I-G-H-T, that is wrong. In the same way, again, if I say how are you doing and you say good, that's logically wrong. No semantics missed. People say it most times. In Spanish, they say por favor, but it really means not, it literally means by favor. Like por is by in Spanish, para es for every time. But people just use it, just for whatever reason, it's just used irregular. It's used in a slang way. And do be like that. But censors decide. Absence produces incompleteness. And so when I'm over here doing this mathematical proof, and I'm having just all of these weird feelings, again, not like actions, but just like, it's absence. It's like I'm missing a word. But when I'm at this level of synesthesia, it's so fundamental to me. Like I said, I've never been me. I've never been Brad. I've never gone out into the world. I can logically derive why people respond to titles as names, but I can't be me. Brad is not in the fucking world, man. So when do you feel complete? I sure as hell don't, because again, I'm the victim of profound crime and I'm being tortured to death. That's not an exaggeration. That's not a statement of me being mentally ill, which isn't a fucking thing. Any sort of labeling of that of me is just historical fraud, the most severe punishments I can, because it's scapegoating. It's straight up scapegoating, and people just don't think that's what they're doing, and it's fucking disgusting. I'm not probably more mature than everybody watching this. I am. But when do you feel incomplete? And so this, it's like, why don't, like on a personal level, like I want to go do a hike, or I want to go do metal detecting, or I want to go explore Hocking Hills, but I'm like hunkered down at my parents' house, and it's like, why don't I go do shit? And it's this feeling of incompleteness. And again, at my level, it's like absence, like you're missing, it's like you've been lost out into the world. It's such a weird feeling. But it's literally just me looking for a word. That's all it really is. But it's torture. So this process would not be happening because I've never had a sense of identity. I've never said, here's a math proof, and be like, oh yeah, that's a math proof, cool. I didn't say, give me a red carpet and throw a huge party for me, which all of the privileged people do for each other, but there's no response. There's just vitriol and hatred. It's the only thing I've ever experienced in my life. But that is what I have for you on logical derivation, and I will see you on the next one.